art of wrestling with professional wrestler Colt Cabana. It's Colt Cabana.
All right. How you guys doing? Come on in, sit down, relax. You're about to listen to The Art of Wrestling, a professional wrestling podcast. It's a life podcast. It's a personal journal. It's an entryway into the minds, souls, the hearts, and lives of the people involved in the world of professional wrestling. I am your host. My name is Colt Cabana. I am a Japanese sightseer. I am a seer of Japan. I'm a guy who gets on a train, who doesn't speak a language, who figured it out, mainly because of Google Maps, but still figured it out. I'm a man who sleeps in the most stereotypical-looking Japanese place I have ever seen in my life, on not even a mattress. Two pieces of thick cloth that is not good for the back, shoulders, and whole body of a man trying to do an athletic job. Most importantly, though, and that job is I am a professional wrestler, and I am not sitting here live in my studio apartment in Chicago, Illinois. No, I find myself in a tiny dorm room on the outside of Tokyo, Japan, more specifically Shinkawa, Japan, wrestling for DDT Professional Wrestling, and kind of weirdly having the time of my life. Before we get into that, though, this is a fan supported and listener supported podcast supported by people just like you. Give it to you free of charge every single Thursday. SoundCloud, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts from. A couple great ways that you could support, rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Tell a friend. Tell somebody via social media, Facebook, Twitter. You know how to do it. Best way to support, though, ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com. T-shirts, buttons, pictures, posters, DVDs, digital downloads. The Wrestling Road Diaries 1, 2, and 3 specifically. Grab a hard copy. Grab it digitally, ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com. All right, first and foremost, let's talk about your friend Colt Cabana, national television star. No, okay, when this comes out, it'll be just a couple hours, if not, 1 or 2 hours right after my NBC debut on Chicago PD. If you don't read my social media, if it hasn't gotten to you yet, yes, I was on Chicago PD. Sorry I didn't say it before. I didn't know the rules. I don't know the regulations. I did tweet it out because I was in the preview of it on the ending of the last episode. But yes, I had a part in it. It was fun. I had some lines. I know they edited it. I went in and did ADR, which I didn't know a thing. I kept on thinking it was Alberto Del Rio, but it's not. It's when you match up your own voice to your own voice, and the cool thing about that is you get paid. Literally 15 minutes of work to say my own lines, which maybe I fucked up on the day of the shoot. I don't know, but I got more to do that than I ever have for professional wrestling, so that worked out well, on top of what I got to shoot the thing in the first place. So listen, I don't ask a lot of favors, do I? I don't think so. Here's the one favor. If you can, be a friend, please tweet at Chicago PD, hashtag Chicago PD, using my Twitter handle, at Colt Cabana. Throw it in there somehow. You don't have to make it your main tweet. You can just tweet it to them and be like, holy crap, Colt Cabana on Chicago PD. That's a big deal. Huge. I'm a fan of both, and now my worlds are mixing, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea, right? Because I was told that, if enough people butter it up, maybe I get a call back, maybe I come back on. If it's made to look like a big deal, this is the Art of Wrestling community now for almost 7 years. I'm asking a little favor. Send out a tweet to the old Chicago PD. Let them know you like me, which I'm obsessed with now, by the way, because I got the job, and then I went back and I was like, I should probably watch it. And then I watched 84 episodes straight in 3 weeks. So I've become a fan of the show after getting booked on the show. And maybe the same thing happens to you. Okay, on the show is Jessicka Havok. No, she isn't in Japan with me. This was recorded a couple weeks ago. Starting to get a couple more ladies on the show. Happy about that. Jessicka has been doing this a while now. And we get into a talk that, we talk about it in there, but she didn't know if it was going to come up, and I didn't know if it was going to come up, but I could see she kind of wanted to talk about it, so I obviously was like, well, I'll lead you into it if you want to talk about it. And yeah, there was a scenario with social media and past tweets, and then people coming down harsh on you, and I think she handled it great. She gets to tell her side of the story. And I think the lesson from this is, and whether she wants to use it or not, and I think she is because she still has gone, full forward into wrestling, is that I don't want to say people forget, because if you do something, you should be held accountable for your actions. But people do forgive. And on the other side, people who do, either weird or shitty things or whatever it might be, they learn, they become better people, or they can learn, they can become better people. They can learn from their mistakes. And I do think it's important that we don't banish somebody forever for something that they've done, if that makes sense. And especially in professional wrestling, especially in pro wrestling, I mean, people have come back from just so much stuff or so much heat or whatever it might be. Maybe the worst example ever would be like a guy like Goldberg, is that, you see he was hated probably by everybody in that company, and now he's back and he's doing it. So I think like if you just stick around, you move forward, you push, like Brody Stevens says, forward push, positive push forward, keep doing your thing, and eventually, you'll get where you want to get. I think, if you put in the hard work and you become a better person, or more, even not even a better person, but maybe more self-aware, or you're learning the do's and don'ts of shit that you should do's and don'ts do, And I think that will be the case with Jessicka Havok. So you'll enjoy the talk. I enjoyed the talk. I think one thing to mention, I think she goes into a story where she tries to put somebody down, and I'm just like, no, we don't have to. And she's like, yes, I have to. Because that's usually not the way I want my show to go. I prefer our own tales, our own stories. And I did like when Billy Gunn was on the show, and he was like, I can't speak for anybody else. I can only speak for myself. But Jessicka did want to get something off of her chest, I guess. And she did. And you'll hear all about it in a second. I do want to tell you about myself wrestling for DDT. I've had 2 shows so far. I felt very welcomed in the locker room. I'll be honest, I feel at home here, and it's super nice. Pro Wrestling Noah is, a professional wrestling organization, and they do things by the book, and they do them professionally, and everyone's, really good. And I always was super excited. Being a non-corporate wrestler guy that I am, coming over to Japan, I assume that was part of the non-corporate wrestling thing in America. It's like, well, I go to Japan to get work. But now I kind of realize that maybe Pro Wrestling Noah is kind of still corporate wrestling, and DDT is just the outcasts of comedy wrestling. And I have had so much fun. These guys are so funny. I was watching some of the matches and some of the skits, and nobody puts any, there's just, you could do whatever you want, and the key is to get people to laugh, and that's what they're excited about. And I there was a match just yesterday that I was watching, and it was this MMA fighter type dude who's one of the top guys here, and then he was doing a 2-on-1 match against these 2 other guys who were boxers, and it was a 2-on-1 handicap boxing match, and in between each round, if you last another round, there was a beautiful card girl, and each round she would take off another piece of clothing. So eventually, it's kind of like strip poker. It's like strip wrestling. And this was like a Saturday Night Live skit. And I tried to tell them that, but my Japanese is absolutely awful. So they, I don't know how much they picked up of it, but it was so funny. It was so funny. I think most importantly, like-minded. There was so much like-mindedness. And I'm so excited to be here wrestling for the DDT organization, and they've already talked about bringing me back and stuff, so that gets me excited. Gets me excited that maybe I found a new home or another home. I think Noah and I are still talking about trying to put some stuff together, maybe a combined tour, if you will, because these fans are completely different fans. The Noah fans and the DDT fans, completely different. And that's kind of cool because I can kind of show my diversity as a wrestler. With Noah, it's very kind of basic, run-of-the-mill professional wrestling. I tend to put a little spice in there. With DDT, it's just like whatever the fuck you want to do. And maybe that'll make a nice, cool opportunity for me. And maybe, a home in Japan for a long, long time to come. It's very exciting. It's very exciting. All right, let's get into a song of the week this week. And before we do, the song of the week does have a sponsor. It is ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter is a search engine for finding and posting jobs. Hey, are you a place or a business or a thing? Maybe you're a wrestling company. Do you need to hire somebody? Posting your job in one place isn't enough to find quality candidates. You need to post your job on all of the job sites, and now you can do that with ZipRecruiter.com. ZipRecruiter already has 9 million resumes you can search through in their database. With one click, send your job to 100 plus job sites, including social media like Twitter and Facebook. Jobs in any city, in any industry, nationwide. There's no juggling emails or calls to your office. You can quickly screen candidates, rate them, and hire the right person. It's been used by over 1 million businesses. They've been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and more. Pro wrestling tees, when they get too big and everybody can't take it anymore and they leave and they start podcasting tees, pro wrestling tees will still be there, and maybe we'll use ZipRecruiter to hire up some people. Right now, for you, for my listeners, if this makes sense, you can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/first. That's ZipRecruiter.com/first. One more time, ZipRecruiter.com/first. All right, let's play this beauty for Song of the Week. Grandmaster Sexy, Brian Christopher, Jerry Lawler's son. This was from his wonderful, wonderful album. This song is called It's a Memphis Thing. Take it in, love it, enjoy it. We'll be back with Jessicka Havok. Why are you nervous?
Because it's your podcast. I don't want it to suck.
Hold on, jump on there. We could start with that. You could talk into it.
All right.
You don't seem like
All
you don't seem like a nervous. But I'm going to tell you a story to what leads into you saying that right away.
Okay.
And you said I'm nervous.
I said I'm really nervous to do your podcast because it's your podcast.
You've done podcasts before.
I have. Yeah.
And what are your ranges of nerves from other ones?
I guess I don't really get nervous about them usually.
You don't even think about it. Yeah,
No,
I don't,
no,
right?
not
It's
really.
just like, ugh, I got to do a thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and they're calling
pretty
you
much.
up. Ugh, fine.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you. I was going to do something else.
Right. I always try to get out of the Skyping thing. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, you can call my number, I guess, but
You'd
lose
rather
it.
them call the number?
I do research first, but and actually I've only done like probably 3 podcasts, and it's been for like the websites that do like they cover mostly the women's wrestling and
I was
stuff
going to
like
say,
that.
yeah, there's, and tell them, I don't know, there's Diva Dirt. Is that still a thing?
Diva Dirt, I think so, but maybe not, because I actually haven't seen any retweets from them in a while.
Diva Dirt.
Calling you out. And there's Ring Bells too, but I know that they switched ownership because there was some weird stuff going on. Like people were, making certain girls look bad, and like they were picking favorites.
They had
and stuff
agendas.
Like that. They had agendas.
I don't have an agenda.
I know.
Okay. No, but so the story I was going to tell you is, I'd say we met. I remember doing the AIW shows with you years ago.
Yes.
And you were always kind of like, this might sound shitty, but whatever, just stick with me.
Yeah.
A little standoffish. And I thought maybe, I don't know what I thought, but I was like, oh, maybe she has I don't know. Maybe she doesn't like me, or maybe there's something, or she thinks she's better than me. There was that kind of thought period. But then years later, like you've made comments to me of like, oh, but you're Colt Cabana. And I was like, oh, she was just probably like, maybe you held me in this weird higher thing.
Yeah, it was okay. So talking about AIW, like that was really, really early on in my career, because as of this past September, it'll be my 13 years at wrestling. And
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's like crazy to think about, because I mean, and we all make sacrifices and stuff, but I feel like it's crazy because it doesn't seem that long. But I think it's because, like a lot of us who have tried to make something of ourselves, we've been through a lot. Yeah. And it makes time kind of pass quickly. But at AIW...
But don't you also think like, oh, I could have gotten a degree, and I could have learned a language.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you know what? That's something that maybe I should get Rosetta Stone, because I do need to
I
learn
think about that I know. I would say every 6 months, I'm like, maybe I should learn. It's too late. I'm too old now. And then a year later, like, I should have done it last year. I'm not that old.
I know. We just keep putting that stuff off. But even in high school and stuff, I've been wanting to wrestle since I was 9. And ever since I saw Stone Cold Steve Austin on TV, I was like, he's the coolest. And for some reason, that just made me think that I want to do this. And even when I was in high school, my guidance counselor was like, "Are you sure?"
Oh, you had one of those.
Oh, she was like on me, like for like graduation was coming up, and it was like every other day coming to class, like, "Hey, listen, I know you want to do this wrestling thing, but here's your FAFSA. You could fill this out. You can get like student aid and like, or, you know, student loans, whatever." And I'm like, no, because it's going to work out. It's going to be fine.
What did
training.
you? Because I did the guidance counselor thing, and I brought in like a pamphlet of like, look, it says this is how you like. I bought the King Kong Bundy, I think, Captain Lou Albano pamphlet. I was like, look, you could be a pro wrestler, and like, but it's like they don't know.
Yeah.
So what did you went in? I love these conversations.
So when when I'm trying to explain it to her, and it was like, you know, God bless her for caring so much, because like I was like in high school, like I was like the alternative girl, but I was the one that I didn't put labels on everybody. Like I was like friends with everyone, football players, cheerleaders, all of them. But like, my guidance counselor, because she knew, she's like, "You're such an outgoing person and you have so many good qualities. So like, why don't you do something else?" And I'm like, well, here. So my senior year, I actually started training to wrestle anyway. So I was training to wrestle while I was in high school. And my mom's deal was, she was like kind of freaked out at first, but she was completely supportive. She's like, as long as your grades don't slip, you can train to wrestle.
Because I remember your mom would do your gimmick table.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she would be at AIW. Yeah. And if you think that I have a really mean face, like, she's, like, intimidating. Like, the things that she would say during shows and stuff, and I'd have to be like, "Mom, you're going to get me heat."
To who and for why?
And, no, just, like, she'd be watching the show. She didn't particularly care for the AIW shows just because they ran so long, and some of the gimmicks that they would have people do, she just thought was kind of, like, tacky and, like, just, like, classless.
But what was her interaction of?
So, like as far as what?
Of getting you in trouble or her being allowed?
No. Like she would just like start just speaking her mind, and like she's not the one like wrestling, it's me. So You're my mother. Everyone knows you're my mom sitting at my merch table. And if you like, she hated Isis the Amazon. I don't know if you remember her.
I do.
I had to wrestle her at an AIW show, and my mom.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. And you know what? Like I thought it was terrible while it was happening, but and I know that sounds really bad, and I'm really sorry.
No. I always say that because that's happened to me so many times, and that's such a weird feel. Like that's the worst. Like as it's happening in a match, and take Isis out of this and bless her, whatever. But just the idea of you're in a match and you're just like, this is fucking awful.
I know. Like, so like during the match, I'm like, oh, this is shit, because she's not listening to me. And like, I'm used to being like the biggest girl. Obviously she's like 7 foot tall, right? Like huge. And I was doing like this kind of like jerky, like dickheaded character at AIW anyway. Like I was kind of a heel, but I was a smart ass. And like I thought she was mad at me because when I came out for my entrance, I like looked in the ring and I was like, "That's a huge bitch." And then but I'm like she gets it a lot, right? It's like it's no big deal. So like the match, like I mean, she kind of, there was miscommunications and stuff, but when I actually watched it back, I'm like, this actually isn't as bad as I thought it was. So it's kind of a relief when you think that it's crap and you go back and watch it and you're like, oh,
I don't know if I would want that.
Yeah, I know.
I would rather it be bad and like in the moment, like being like, I'm fucking doing it.
Yeah, that's true. I know. I've had a couple of matches like that over, like, not many. I would say like 3 times total in my career. So I guess I'm kind of lucky where I was just like, oh, this is falling apart like really bad. But 2 out of 3 of those matches, actually, when I watched them back, like I was wincing, like waiting, and I was like, okay, that wasn't bad.
So if you have a vivid memory of it, you don't have to say who you wrestled, but were they higher profile or?
Okay, so the first, I'll say who. I'm not scared, and they, like, we already talked about it anyway. But like,
you don't have to.
Like, no, it's okay. I really don't care. I'm known for kind of being a straight shooter anyway. So if,
but I'm more intrigued about the idea of just. Well, you know, I guess your mindset. So it doesn't matter who the person is, but whatever. Well, like for instance, because it actually ended up working out. Like the one was, this was years ago too at WSU. I had to work Becky Bayless, and it was the very first match of the show, and she got there 5 minutes before the show was supposed to start.
she's not even dressed yet. And the guy that ran WSU at the time, his name was the Mick, or everybody called him the Mick, but his name was Sean. And she walked up to him. She's like, I'm going to have him move our match. And I'm like, I don't think he's going to. And she goes, yeah, he will. And she walks up to him. She's like, hey, I just got here. We still have to call this. So I need you to like move the match. He's like, no, you're opening the show. So you might as well get dressed. So it was really funny because we're calling this match. And I feel myself getting frustrated because like, she's like, I feel like she's not understanding some of the things I'm saying and stuff like that. And like and of course she's trying to get dressed for the match. And then like we're calling the match. And then like she randomly, like she's looking at me and she's pulling her pantyhose up. And then she like stands up on the chair, like in front of me. And then she's like, it was weird because it was just like, she was doing all this moving around. And I'm like, are you listening to me? And it was only a 5-minute match. And like, I remember one point in the match, like I only gave her a few things because I'm like, well, I was here and I need to protect myself. They're building me as a monster. So what do you do good? Give me 3 things you do well. And she was like, I do a tornado DDT, drop toe hold, and like something else I couldn't remember.
I do a pretty good drop toe hold.
I do. I'm like, okay, I can work with this.
Do an Irish whip. My lockup is pretty good.
Yeah, like, the basics. So I remember...
no, but in her head, it's like amazing.
Yeah, it's like
my Irish
can
whip
do
is
this.
fucking killer.
Yes. So, like, during the match, like, I'm just like... And Allison Kay and Sassy Steffi, we were on a stable called the Midwest Militia at that point. So they were ringside.
Sassy Steffi's a great name, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know anything about wrestling and you're just talking about these girls...
I know, Sassy
pretty great.
Steffi. Yeah, but...
That's like I read the PWI as a kid, and like you see all like the like Lady Bambi, whatever. Like Sassy Steffi.
Yes.
All right.
But like they're ringside, and I remember at one point I'm just like, because we get to the drop toe hold, and I hit the ropes.
This is, by the way, this is one of her 3.
One of her 3.
The big DTH.
Forgets to drop toe hold me.
Yeah. Oh,
so I literally just stop in my tracks, look at her, and just clobber her safely.
Yeah.
And then I like legit, I look at Allison Kay, and I'm like, this match is fucking terrible. And she's just like, I don't know what to do. Just do whatever. Like, we're just like, ugh. So we get through the match, and that was one of the and the tornado DDT was also not good. It was, I don't know what happened. It was like a lot of miscommunication. I love Becky Bayless to death, though. She's a hoot. Like, she knows it. Like, we got to the back. She's like, that was really bad. I'm like, you think?
Yeah.
So it was like, it was one of those things where it was like, shit. But I that's a match I watched back, and I'm like, oh, it's not that bad.
It's not that
It wasn't that bad.
Well, it's funny you bring up that because I don't think this is brought up a lot. And so, like, and I don't talk about in the middle of matches. Not necessarily like, we don't talk about like the psychology match or that's not what I'm here for. But the idea of as artists, like when we're in a match and like something's going wrong, right? For me, like the first thing I thought of, like as you were saying that, I was like, fuck, I think I would, if we're just improvising and it's on the fly because we just got to go out there, like I think, like, and it's just the crowd's dead. It's like, how do you get them back?
Right.
My first thought is like, well, a good fucking chop will always get them back. And you said like I gave her a big.
It was a forearm, I think, and it was like, and I'm not one for. Like, if something goes wrong in a match.
No, but you need that noise, right?
And so, like, I know that I got her pretty good, but after and she's pretty outspoken and, like, pretty real. She's real enough that if it wasn't cool, she would definitely let me know. But,
them boobs aren't real. Sorry, I wasn't even going to say it. But.
Oh, well.
All right.
Well, anyway, just stating the obvious sometimes, I guess, is what we're going to do. But, no, but, it's just one of those things. And I guess, and again, that was, earlier on in my career, too. And I don't think I really got a good buzz about my name until, I was a good 5-6 years in. And it was because of WSU. Mm-hmm. I had a couple of people in my wrestling school that I felt was kind of trying to hold me back because they knew I had potential. I was the only girl there, and I trained 4 times a week for a while.
All right, well, where are you from? Cleveland?
I'm actually from Canton, Ohio.
Okay.
It's where the Football Hall of Fame is. So it's about an hour and 15 minutes from Cleveland.
Okay.
So that's why I worked a lot at Cleveland All Pro and AIW.
Well, who'd you train with? Or where'd you train?
I trained at...
Or do you not say who you trained with?
No, and I'll say he's got some heat with people, but I don't really care. He's my trainer at the end of the day, and he did, I'm grateful for a lot of the stuff he did teach me, psychology-wise and, etiquette and stuff like that. But
Can I guess?
You can.
There was a guy in Canton. Oh, maybe I'm thinking. There was like Jeff Cannon. Big guns. Jeff, or something?
He's from Coshocton.
Okay.
I did work with them a bit too, but I did go to a couple of his training things. But he had like Sassy Steffi came from there, and Madison Rain, who's in TNA now, she came from there too. So he had like a bunch more girls. I would go train with them sometimes, and he used to get mad at me because it was really far and like. I remember there was like a snowstorm and he wanted me to come train, and we were passing through, like a group of us were passing through from a show, and the storm was getting worse. So we're like, we're just going to go straight home. And it was a good like hour and 45 minutes from where I lived, maybe even further. But I remember texting him and being like, look, the storm's getting really bad. So like, I'm just going to head home. Like I'll try to hit up training in a couple weeks. And he gave me this long lecture on text message, how you need to make sacrifices in wrestling to get better. And like, you shouldn't be skipping practice with me. But what I saw with a few of his girls specifically, because he had quite a few, he would let the girls be like if he's teaching a certain drill or something, they would be like, I'm not doing that. And he would be like, okay, fine. And it's like when I trained with a guy who, his name was Kevin Blue. He wrestled as a guy named Shasta on the Indies. He's originally
Shasta McNasty.
He's originally from Georgia, and he moved to Ohio. Do you know him?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's who my trainer was. And
that's another great name, by the way.
Yeah.
The Sassy Stephanie wasn't good enough.
But like he trained me, and he was my primary trainer, and like I said, he taught me like a lot of like why psychology was important and stuff like that. And they like really like basically, I didn't find this out till later, but he like told all the boys, because like I would train 4 days a week. He would like I would go home with a busted mouth like once a week, and I later found out it's because girls are drama, make her quit. And I was the only girl that he'd ever trained that never quit. And I didn't know, like, I just thought, well, this is wrestling. Like, you know, this is like paying my dues. Like, I helped set up the ring. They made me put the ring up by myself too. Like, looking
back at that, do you remember, were there other girls that were in and out?
There were, but they were it was literally like they would show up for like 2 days in the week and then never come back. Looking
back at it, would you be like, yeah, maybe girls are drama, or no?
Well, I would say they absolutely are. Yeah. And I'm not going to lie. Like, anybody who knows me knows that, like, I prefer to have guy friends because I don't deal with that pettiness. And going through wrestling and being in wrestling as long as I have realized that girls in wrestling have bigger egos than any guy I've ever met. And they're so petty and catty, and they're so quick to cut someone else's throat for even an extra $20, right, or a spot that they think is going to be, you know, like better for them. That's going to elevate them.
Now I'm not gonna agree or disagree. That's your opinion. Yeah. But I helped do a women's seminar thing, and when I did it, I had never realized what a different world, because I've just been with the boys. Yeah. And there's a girl, like you'd be in a locker room or another girl, and like there's but being in a locker room with the girls, mm-hmm, it was a real eye-opener, and I didn't realize until I was there. And this isn't like saying good or bad, but right, it was just a different world. Yes. And I never even thought about it until I was like in the middle, because we did Rise has a thing where we did I trained a bunch of girls, I helped train a bunch of girls, and there was a show that night. And just being in it was a real eye-opener for the world that you guys are in. It's definitely, I can definitely agree with you on that, because my first 2 years in, like there were not very many girls around, so I was only around guys, and I only wrestled guys for my first couple years. And because of my height and stuff, like I was much smaller weight-wise then than I am now. But like I was bigger than a lot of guys that I trained with and were on shows with, and Ohio, like just a bunch of crappy little shows we would just go do. Like we all have done that. And like, so like when I did my very first all women show, it was actually for Jeff Cannon. It was like the OCW, like ladies night or something like that. And I remember thinking, holy crap, what am I doing here? Because like there was so much drama over nothing. And like back then especially, I was not a very confrontational person. So it's like, and like for a while, okay, me and Madison Rain, she was Lexi Lane at first, and then she went to Ashley Lane because of Lexi Lane when she went to Shimmer and all that. She and I were like really, really close for the first couple of years. Like I was wrestling a year when she came along.
and we started taking bookings together, and we would travel all over the place, and I would let that girl arm drag me everywhere. Like, because I was just like, oh, I have a friend who's a girl, and she's cool, and whatever. And basically, long story short, like, there, like, some cattiness got thrown in there. There was some jealousy, and like, we ended up having heat with each other over something so stupid. And because I wasn't very confrontational then, like, I just like never confronted her about it, and I just let it fester, and I started to resent her. But it really hurt my feelings, because I thought, well, this is like my friend, and like, like, I, at the time, I thought like she really like stabbed me in the back and stuff like that. And like, she and I had a really weird like relationship in wrestling in general, because we went from being best friends to having like major heat. Then we smoothed it over. Then my trainer like started, he coaxed me into, because I was like kind of naive about some stuff. He like had me cut like a shoot style promo on her at one of his shows, and he said he wasn't going to put it online, and he did. And she was in TNA at the time, and she like texted me and was like, yeah, real professional, bitch. If you ever wanted a spot here, it's gone. Like, and I don't blame her, but like, I shouldn't have been so naive.
What did you think?
Well, and that's just, it's...
Hold on, but you cut that promo on her for what?
She no-showed a bunch of shit. Like, she agreed to do shows with us and, like, do an angle with me. Yeah. And, like, I was excited about it. And then, like, basically what happened was he, like, kind of, I think, manipulated the situation a little bit and made me think one thing, like, that she was doing it maliciously and, like, just to make me look stupid. And and it wasn't, like, really that bad of a promo, and it's been taken down, but it was so long ago anyway, and it's not like
you were convinced that it wasn't going to go up.
Yeah,
so why would you even do it? Just to explain to the fans, like, why she wasn't going to be there, but to put some realism in it. This is how he explained it to me. So it was going to go over the house, you meant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just thought that, okay, well, and then he put it online anyway, and I was really upset about it. And he's like, she has no pool there, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's not the point. Like, you made me look like, this makes me look bad. Mm-hmm. Like, so it's just like little stupid things like that. And then I eventually learned, like, what, like, unless I'm going to confront that person. But like, I guess because of situations like that over the years, I've learned that if I have an issue with someone, or if I hear someone's talking behind my back, I, in a very professional manner, will pull them aside. I will never make a scene. And I've had to do this a couple of times over the past like 3 years with certain girls, where they're like super nice to my face, and then I see screenshots, proof of they're saying this about me. And like, it's just like just blatantly like burying me because of my size, because of my look, and calling me ugly and stuff. But they were also, like, these particular girls were the first ones to congratulate me when I debuted on TNA. So it's like, you went out of your way to like congratulate me when you were with me at no part of my journey. Like, oh, you deserve this so much. Do I? Like, you don't know, but you're like, that shows me a red flag right there. I'm not stupid anymore about people.
Now,
like,
do you, is this girls, or is this wrestling, or is this a little everything?
It's girls. I will tell you this right now. It is girls. Like, and I think I think everything, I always say like the drama and cattiness is amplified times 100 in wrestling.
Right.
Because we're all competing for a lot of the same spots, and like,
and that, right, there's like a bit of so we're in a carny game, mm-hmm. and then add on top of like the reality shows that we watch, like the whatever, but
yeah.
So now you're adding those girls just in general, and this is obviously generalizing everything,
right?
But and there's obviously great, but yeah, to generalize that, it's pretty wild.
It's insane. Like, it takes me back to like, I want to say high school, but it's almost like middle school crap. And even like when I was in high school, I wasn't even about like drama, and like I said, I wasn't a confrontational person then. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if wrestling changed me for the better or worse as far as that, but it's
changed you.
Yeah, it has.
Have you put a finger on like, or is it just the stuff that's just kind of like you've realized you gotta grow up maybe?
I think that it's a little bit of both. Like, I feel like the situations that had happened to me, because I was so trusting and so passive when things happened, because they like, if like someone who I thought was my friend like stabbed me in the back, like, do you remember Haley Hatred?
I do.
If I ever see that girl again.
Well, then we're not here to.
No, I know, but it's just like situations like that, because that's someone that was like very near and dear. Like, I thought and she like messed my life up on a very personal level too, like as far and as well as wrestling for a minute.
It's not that I was going to bring this up, but or not even that thing, but like you're Facebook, you're messaging and Facebook, and so you're getting caught up in a lot of. I assume that's what you're talking about with Haley Hatred, is that she's social mediaizing.
No, what happened? Like, it's a really like messy situation, but it was something that happened to us personally. Like, basically, this is like the craziest thing, and I don't even know how like legally this could have been done to me. But remember, okay, she and I were tagging for like a good minute on the indies, and that's how we got into WSU. And the WSU promoter told me straight up, I was only booking you because Haley was pushing you to as a tag. Like, he's like, I was interested in Haley. I thought she was a steak and you're just the potato. And he's like, I realized
this.
Well, he was like being straight up with me. And like, this is after he like realized, you know, well, she's a, because he didn't know much about me, but everybody knew Haley Hatred. She had a reputation, you know, whatever.
She powerbombed Mickey Knuckles on the back.
Oh my gosh, I know. But like, basically, like, long story short, we were on our way to a WSU show, and I was driving her car, and she didn't tell me she didn't have car insurance. Otherwise, we would have took my car, because we always switched back and forth. And we were like, it was in Pennsylvania, like an hour away from New Jersey. And this lady like dead stopped in the middle of the highway. And I was like probably 6 car lengths behind her, but I was going 70 miles per hour. So I wasn't able to stop in time. So we hit her.
Ugh.
And I blacked out, and I don't know how, because we were on the farthest left-hand lane. And like, I just remember, prior to me hitting her, my brother was in the back seat. We were actually dropping him off because he lived with his girlfriend at the time. So he was with us. He was in the back seat. She was in the passenger seat. And I remember saying, please, like, let me know when I can get over, because this lady's making me nervous because she keeps brake checking and like, you know, whatever. And it was like 4:00 in the afternoon in Pennsylvania. So it was like traffic. It was so bad. So like 30 seconds after I said that, she like completely stops, and I like tried to stop in time. I smashed into her. I blacked out. Somehow we were on the right side of the highway. Like, I don't know how we got there. I wish I would have took a picture of the car, because I don't know how like we survived.
Right.
Like, I had a bruise across my collarbone and like through like down my chest.
Did you have your seatbelt on?
Seatbelt, I did. Yeah. And that's why that like.
What about
was
the
there.
back seat?
So.
Right? No one wears their seatbelt in the back seat.
No, he didn't. But and Haley had her seatbelt on too. But my brother saw it coming last second, and he hugged the back of her seat. So she ended up like hitting her head on the windshield and coming. But since she had her seatbelt on, she didn't go through the windshield, thank God.
Yeah.
And like I just remember looking over, and her forearm's bleeding, her head's bleeding. And she just looks at me. She's like, well, we have to do this show still, because I need the money now. And I'm like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And like, my brother is like 6'6", and he's crammed in the back seat of this car. So he's like, my shins hurt. I'm like, but I was like shook up. So we had to go to the hospital, and then my brother had like somebody come pick us up. So Haley never even got checked out. We went and we wrestled that night. Then my mom
still wrestled that night.
Yes, we still wrestled that night.
Crazy fucker.
$125 each.
Yeah.
And so we like, we wrestled that night, and we stayed at my brother and his girlfriend's house until, my mom and my dad, who have been divorced for years, got in a car together and drove 8 hours to come get us and bring us back home.
What do you think that ride was like for them?
Well, they're both jerks and say what's on their mind. So I wish there was a camera on the dashboard.
Right? That'd make a good podcast,
yes.
I bet.
Yes. But yeah, so basically after that car accident happened, shortly after that, she just kind of disappeared. Like, then she stopped talking to me, and then her car insurance people were hitting me up. And then she finally gets a hold of me and says, if Safe Auto calls, tell them the accident happened at this time. And I said, no, why? She's like, well, because I reinstated my car insurance when the accident happened, because she was in the back seat. I remember she got in the back seat of her car and was talking on the phone, and the sheriff was getting mad at us. He's like, I need the insurance. We need to get off this highway. We can get hurt. She got mad at them, so he wrote me a citation. Whatever, it's fine. It doesn't matter. He wasn't going to until she got crappy with him. But then basically she said she was basically asking me to commit insurance fraud, to which I said, no, there was a police report with the time.
Right.
I'm not doing that. I wish you would have told me you didn't have insurance. She flees the country. I don't hear from her at all. Pictures of her pop up on Mexico, like, you know, she's wrestling in Mexico now, and then she moved to Japan. But in the meantime, over the course of 8 months, I'm getting harassed by her car insurance people and then her car loan people. And then all of a sudden I get a letter in the mail saying, you are being sued on behalf of Angel Reese for $5,000 for damages on so-and-so's car, no proof of insurance, this and that. And it's just because I was driving, but she was gone. So they needed to get somebody. And like, it was like the craziest thing. And I tried to fight it. My license got suspended. And like the worst thing you could do to a pro wrestler who's still trying to like get to shows, like I'm still driving 6, 8, 12, 15 hours to shows. Like, so it was a big mess. And like, she owes me a lot of money. And I just, like, I don't know.
You don't wish good things upon her.
I mean, I just want to like beat her ass and that's it. Like, I don't want her to die or anything. I don't know.
Oh, you are. There's a sweet side.
Yeah,
of you.
you know.
It's very kind of you.
But we got like super off track. But going back to what you brought up like earlier about how you thought maybe I was stuck up or whatever.
Oh, a half hour ago?
Yeah, I'm sorry. But I did want to get this like off my chest. Like back then, like at AIW especially, I was really intimidated by a lot of the people there. But you are somebody who I looked up to because I'm not trying to be like a kiss ass, but you're obviously very talented, very funny, very fun to watch. Like you obviously know what you're doing. So like, and I'm trying not to be like this so much now, but like, it was just like, because it was so intimidating, I was just like, I don't want to sound stupid. I don't, but in hindsight, it's like, well, you look like a bigger jerk if you're not
right.
Like,
and
I didn't mean to come across like that.
And obviously, I think comments and stuff that you said later, I put the pieces together and I was like, well, that was not like I ever held anything against you, but those were my thoughts.
Well, I feel like if you did, you probably would have been like, hey. Like, I feel like you're the type of person
for sure
that would definitely say something.
Ooh,
so
I almost wanted to the other day to somebody, and I didn't. I've been stopping myself lately.
Yeah.
But I do think it's what was I going to say? That like, yeah, I wish. I don't know. I just wish that I don't know. People, I don't even know. I had a comment and then I lost it. No. I had something and I lost it. No, it was on the lines of like, yeah, like that. There was those, that times where like I didn't know. Like I wish it was easier to read a situation better.
Yeah.
Or because I just did this thing with this acting thing too, and like it's like, or I try not to be as judgy, I guess.
Yeah.
But we are, right? It's not like we're
judgy.
not.
Yeah, I'm not too proud to admit. Like I definitely like, and the thing with me nowadays, because I'm getting to the point where just because of things that have happened to me over the last year specifically, like I'm getting to the point where I do not care what people think, and I have a terrible poker face. If I see something or someone I don't like, you can read it very well. And thank God I have friends like Allison Kay or Marty Bell who like know exactly and they're like, hey, you're doing the bitch face thing.
Yeah. Maybe
like pull it back a little bit. Like, so.
What do you mean this past year that someone sent me?
Well, I had, last June, I had the WWE tryout.
Oh, that stuff.
Like, yeah.
All right.
And basically, on the last day of my tryout, a bunch of, like, I just know that I left, like, I was feeling really good about it. And, like, basically what happened, the way I got the tryout was Sarah Del Rey overheard Sammy at an NXT taping talking to one of his friends. I think it was Sawyer Fulton. He wrestles there. Saying how like he was complaining like TNA's dicking Jess around about a contract, like they keep saying they're gonna sign her, and now she's upset because they signed Kong instead. And Sarah Del Rey overheard it and she pulled him aside and was like, Jessica's not signed with TNA. He's like, no, she hasn't been. And she's like, oh my gosh, okay, well I'm gonna try to get her in the June tryout. So Sammy like texts me and he's like, hey, I gave Sarah your number, just a heads up, like this is awesome. And I never ever thought in a million years I would get one. And I think it would just played a big part in like what, like even my trainer, like you're not like all the other girls, like it's going to be a lot harder for you. You have to work twice as hard. And a lot of times girls like you don't get signed.
And also that's nice that like your boyfriend, can we say that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Your boyfriend is there. So there's like a lot of pressure of like obviously I'd want to work there, but I don't want to say, and he's probably like, well, obviously I'd get her a job in a perfect world. So that kind of came up right?
But he's the type of person, and I am too, like I would never want to get a tryout because Sammy asked,
of course.
So it was one of those things where, and he knew that I felt that way, and like, because people would always be like, why don't you get Jessicka a job? And we're just like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like, but basically she found out that I wasn't signed. So she literally texted me that night. She's like, I need all this info from you, and send it all to this email. And it was, Canyon Seaman does a lot of the hiring, whatever, and like giving people tryouts and stuff. So basically he booked me for an NXT taping as an extra just to come, like, and I showed up all dressed up and like, obviously, because I want a job. So
well, what are your thoughts at this point of WWE? Did you think that was a realization? Did you like going in at that point? What were you, 12 years in or 11 years in?
I think I was about 11 and a half years in. And I, like, at that point, I was just like grateful that I was even being considered. I just turned 30 this past June. So it's like, in girls, I feel like women in wrestling, our shelf life is not the greatest. Yeah. But it's like, so like I was just like grateful and like excited, and I was trying not to get my hopes up in case it didn't pan out and all this stuff. So, and the TNA tapings I did a few weeks prior to getting booked for this stuff, they made me come in and like they didn't use me for anything, and I just sat around all day. They're like, we'll pay you, like, and they paid me like, I don't know, like
whatever it was.
Just whatever.
Right.
And just to like be there, but it was like kind of a waste. Like I'm like, well, I didn't come here to sit. Like I'm really passionate about wrestling and I love women's wrestling, and I like, it's like a big deal to me. So like Canyon booked me for the NXT tapings, and I went and I met everybody, and I remember he came and sat with me. I was sitting by myself watching the show, and he was like, we consider you an elite diva, indie diva, and we would like to invite you to a tryout, but I need to see if I can get you in June. You might have to wait till September. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm really interested, whatever.
I like to think it's like a secret meeting and he slides you over like a secret Russian spy.
Right.
Would you sign? Look at this.
It had that feel, but I was like, all right, that's cool. So like, I remember like I was like so like anxious and stuff that night, so I couldn't sleep. And like Sammy's sound asleep, and we watch Netflix. We'll watch New Girl or American Dad when we go to sleep, and like I just couldn't sleep. And then
Cute.
I'm like, cute. And then my phone went off, so I checked it, and it was an email inviting me. You're invited to the June tryout for, it was like the 3rd, 4th, and 5th or something.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
So I was like, okay, cool. So I confirmed that I could do it and all that stuff. And like, I had literally only 2 weeks to prepare, and I was freaking out. So I was doing cardio like crazy. I was dieting, and I think I dropped close to 20 pounds in 2 weeks. Wow. Just like trying to get ready for it. And it was a huge tryout. When I got there, like, it was like 49 people, and 14 of us were girls, and only 4 of us were actually wrestlers. But they all did awesome. And it was the tryout it was me, Taylor Hendricks, and Athena were there. And I remember like it was freaking hard, and I wanted to quit so bad, but I just I'm like, no, like because I was always told I shouldn't even be here, so I'm going to prove to them why I should. And like everybody was saying, like, the coaches like really like you. I think you're gonna get signed. I think you're gonna get signed. And because like they were like, they're probably like, this is Sammy's girlfriend, and like Sammy and Billy Gunn are good friends, and like Matt Bloom was there, and Norman Smiley's always been a fan of my work. Well, that's what he says. But like they were like all pushing for me, and they're like everybody's like cheering for me and everything. And I remember Gargano and Gulak and Biff Busick were at my tryout too. So like it was cool to have all the people that I came up with be like, you can do this. And like, I was by far the most out of shape girl there, but I busted my butt. And then, so basically, on day 3 of my tryout, like, they like tell us this big sign off meeting. Like there's the big meeting, like, look, like this is the emails you're going to get to yes, no, maybe, whatever. We're going to pull some people aside. Don't look into it, whatever. And it's like, how can you not look into it? Right. Because Athena was one of the ones pulled aside, and she's one of my good friends, and she was told that day you're signed. Right. And I just remember her bawling on the floor. She was so happy. It took her like 3 or 4 tryouts to get there, and she deserves it. But I couldn't be happy for her because I went to the bathroom and I checked my phone, and I was literally trending worldwide as a racist bigot. Yeah. And basically what happened with that was a group of trolls like went 5 years back on my Twitter, and I was joking around with and this sounds so cliche, but one of my best friends, her name is Shanti, and she's a black lesbian. And like she and I, like 5-6 years ago, like, and this is before I was even any kind of public figure. I didn't even have 100 followers back then. And if I would have remembered that these tweets were there going into like getting a buzz, like I would have taken care of it, like, because I don't ever want to offend anyone. But this is where it's messed up, because like we were joking back and forth with each other, but I never use any kind of like blatant racial slur. Like I wasn't like, basically it was something like, you white people in your Mountain Dew, and I'm like, well, what about you with your watermelon, or something like that. It was like,
it was a text that you should have been having, right?
Yeah, like and we were like, it was on Twitter and it was taken out of context. But what they didn't do, like they took all my stuff, they completely, like, they didn't show anything that she was, and it was just, and it's nobody's fault.
But that's a text.
Yes.
Right? That's your text in your group text.
Yes.
That we all do.
Yes.
Like, I'm not it's not even about pride or anything. I'm happy to admit that, sure, like.
Yeah. And I have owned up to the things that I did say, but I have evidence and proof because my friend Christine did a lot of digging on this group of people. There were a few tweets that trended that were plastered all over dirt sheets that Sammy called me and was like, babe, why did you ever tweet this? And I was like, I swear to God, like, I would never say that. Like, the blatant, like, N-word. Like, they basically, there's apparently a website called letmetweetthatforyou.com. And, like, what they did was they took inspiration from jokey tweets that I had, like, in the past and, like, made like the most awful things. There was like, they made one with like homophobic like things in it, and like the racist one that got spread everywhere. Like, I'm not even gonna like repeat it, but it like I swore up and down, like, I don't ever remember tweeting that. I would never tweet that. Like, that's not me. I'm not a racist. I'm not a bigot. Like, I support, like, we're all,
you're
like,
a good person.
Yeah. Like, so, like, it really broke my heart. And it still, like, sometimes to think back on it, it does, like, it sucks. But I feel like they always say, oh, everything happens for a reason. And I guess I learned from it, but like,
yeah, I mean, I guess I was gonna ask, like, what do you learn from that, or what?
Well,
is there a big picture, or is there?
Well, I guess I should have been smarter about things that I was saying anyway, but like just what they fabricated compared to what I was actually saying. Not that I'm going to own up to everything I said, and I did, and I wrote a blog about it and everything, like, because it took me a year to explain my side of the story. But I thought for a long time that people don't want to hear it because they're just like, no, you're just a piece of shit. You're a racist. No one cares. Like, you're never going to make it. Ha ha ha. You're not getting a contract. Like, and it's just like. And this is the same group of people who got Zara fired like a month later.
Right.
So it's like they want to do this.
It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah. And so like, but I have proof. I have the ringleader's full name and everything because my friend.
Wait, hold on.
Christine,
So there is a person that like.
Yes.
It's not just like I assume it's just fans, and you don't have to say they're Pete and Aaron or whatever.
Yeah,
that it'll all work itself out in the end, I'm sure. But I just assume it's fans being shitheads, or
it's basically what it was, which my friend Christine found out is basically he started targeting me because I unfollowed a Sami Callihan fan site of his the March before my tryout.
So this is a guy who loves your boyfriend.
Yes, like is obsessed with him, which is fine. I get that, but like the thing is like she's got screenshots of like she's got all of his information and where he lives and everything. I don't know how she got it, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Yeah. But I've been told that I can sue someone for this because I was going to get signed. They were going to sign me. And then they were like, we can't touch you now. Yeah. And they still sent me the maybe email, but there was a personal note at the bottom saying, listen, we're not going to sign you, but if there's a Rhino style opportunity, like for NXT, we'd like to bring you in to help elevate our talent, stuff like that. But it was just like this could have changed my life. Mm-hmm. Like, this is everything I fought for. And so like I literally like cried for almost a month every day. Like, I just laid in bed. I was so upset. I didn't know how I was going to come back from it. And it like and it was weird because I deleted all my social media apps off my phone because I was getting death threats. People were like calling me a bunch of names, telling me I'm, just like all the worst things you could possibly like think of, like. it was just crazy. And Sammy was really worried for a while too, because he's like, you know, like, I don't want, like, somebody, like, people are threatening to hurt you, and like our address isn't anywhere, right? Like, you know, whatever. And I'm like, no, like, but it was like a really scary thing. And I felt like in that moment I couldn't really defend myself because it would make me look more guilty, if that makes any sense. But I know for a fact that the ones that just got plastered everywhere that like screwed me, like, it was the ones that were faked, and it's not an excuse. Like, because I have proof. They're bragging about it, and like they bragged about, haha, like, now they're, you know, they don't want anything to do with her now, and like so and so is going to do better than her anyway. And then they're like, haha, we get Zara fired, and then they're like, what other diva can we fuck with? Like, it's like they're just doing this for fun. It's like,
I wish they would get to know everybody, right? Like,
I know, like, and that's what I say now. And it's like, anyone who knows me would never believe that I would say anything like that or be that person.
But anybody who trolls, or even the people I get, like, you know, I got some nasty tweets today, and it's just like, man, if this person looked me in the eye and said this, or if this person knew me, or what the struggles I've gone through to get to where I've gone, and if they knew the struggle, you know what I'm saying, they would think twice. They would think twice about something like that. Like
that exact thing that you just said, I have said that exact same thing. Yeah. Like, just venting to Allison, and because I talk to Allison Kay and Sammy more than anybody. So like I've said those exact things before.
Well, if anything, I mean, that was the point of this podcast that I started years ago.
Yeah.
Was they see you, they know you're a girlfriend, they'll watch you wrestling, but nobody knows like who we are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel, and I've gotten emails, and, you know, like, and it's nice that, you know, you can come on here and we can see you're a normal person, you're passionate, and fuck this, is that, you know, my hope is that this kind of medium is one step closer to people not being assholes.
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
where they can hear that kind of stuff.
It's like, and honestly, this is the first podcast that I've done since all that Twitter stuff. And I just figured, like, if it got brought up, like, if I felt like talking about it, I would, but just because, like, I just feel like people don't know my side of the story.
Right.
And since I wrote that blog and stuff too, even some of the fans who were like, there's like a group of like 4 or 6 of them.
They read it and felt bad, right?
Yeah, because 2 of them reached out to me and said, we forgive you. And I'm like, you forgive me? Like, okay, thank you. And they're like, we're sorry we did that to you. But just so you know, like, it wasn't really like but it's like, no, like, I don't want, and it's fine. Oh, I'm just going to, it is what it is now.
But to your credit, and it's about persevering. Mm-hmm. Like, some people could be like, well, that was a dream, it's gone. Mm-hmm. But, like, you know, I think I've noticed is you've come back, you know, you've come back stronger. You're back on it harder, which I think says a lot. I think it'd be easy. And I think everyone has a story of that moment where we're like, well, fuck it.
Yep.
I'm going to go to Walmart, or I don't know, I use Walmart all the time. But you know what I'm saying? Like, right? Like, I can go and I can get out of this without everyone even thinking about me.
I literally was like so heartbroken that I was just like, it's not worth it to me anymore. Like, that was my dream. And it's funny because I've always said that Jazz was my wrestling mom. Like, we get along so well, and she's like, she's been one of the best people to me. And I ran into her at it was one of those like signing, like big, what was it?
The big event?
The big event. Yeah, it was one of those. And I just remember I was walking to my table, and all I hear is, there's my boo, there she is. And I was like, this sounds like Jazz. And I look, and she's like, what's up, girl? And then so we're talking and stuff, and I explained to her what happened, and she was tearing up. Like, she's like, I can't believe it happened to you, but listen, WWE is not the end all be all.
Right.
She's like, you can go to Japan, you can go to TNA, you can go to Ring of Honor, you can do this, you can do that, you can go overseas. She's like, I believe in you. And like, you're way too talented to let this mess you up. She's like, I've been wanting to wrestle you for a long time, and I can't believe nobody booked it yet. But I told her too that she's not allowed to retire until I wrestle her, because I had 3 idols growing up as far as women's wrestlers, and I got to wrestle 2 out of the 3. The other was Ivory and Luna.
Okay.
So the only other one is Jazz.
You wrestled Luna.
Yes, and she beat the shit out of me so bad. It was like the scariest, most negative thing ever. I remember at one point in the match, this was at Cleveland All Pro for JT Lightning, and it was like a hardcore match, of course. And I remember at one point, and I'm only 2 years in at this point, and I was freaking out because I'd never had someone shoot on me before, and she like beat the crap out of me. She tried to break a beer bottle over my head. She hit me with it several times and it wouldn't break, so she threw it aside and then smashed nachos in my face, and it cut my face up.
The nachos did. Yeah,
yes.
That'll do it.
So, but I had like goose eggs all over my head for
and
like
then
the
afterwards
next week.
she hug you and say you were great?
This is what she did, because she got put over and stuff, and she was like, I'm going to have him bring me back and I'm going to wrestle you and I'm going to put you over because blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, okay, but I'm thinking, I'm never fucking wrestling you again.
I got one. That's all I need.
like I was just, but then it was funny because like 6 months later, I got to wrestle Ivory. And that was the complete opposite experience. Like, she was the promoter, which Shasta, he was going to have her go over, and she's like, nope, she's the up and comer. I'm leaving. I'm out of here. So we're going to have a fun match. And it was during the time of Hurricane Katrina. So she brought her cat and left it in the hotel. So she had the cat carrier. She's crazy, but I love her. But she was sitting at the merch table with her cat carrier, and she's like, all proceeds go to Hurricane Katrina animals. And because after that show, she was flying straight down there to, help out with the animals and stuff. So I remember
doesn't that make you feel like a piece of shit?
Yes. I'm like, Christ. Well, my merch money is for my food, so I can eat. No, but I just remember she was really cool about it, and like the way she remembers me, because I changed my look so many times since then. But she actually, after the match, like I beat her with, I think I was using a DDT as a finish, but
nothing to be embarrassed about.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like, it's one of those things where like I wanted to do other stuff, but everybody's like, no, I don't trust you because you're new. And I'm like, well, I guess I'll do a DDT then. But like, I remember after the match, like I was celebrating and I turn around and she just hits me with the cat carrier because I was the heel, obviously. But like, and like the crowd went crazy, and I had like I was doing a gimmick at the time where they were calling me, and by the way, I don't speak German. I can't do a German accent, but they're like, the German giant, Jessicka Havok. So, and I dressed like a character from Hellboy is the best way I can describe it. And I was like, my whole character was, I was a bodyguard for a wrestler called Justin Diaz, which was a play on words for Justin the Ass, because he did like a homosexual, like,
I wouldn't have put that together.
Yeah, like, so, and it took me a year because he explained it to me. I'm like, oh, okay. So like, I was his bodyguard and stuff, so he was helping me cheat throughout the match. So she hits me with the cat carrier, and then he goes to attack her, and she hits him with her, what is it called? The X Factor. And like, so it was a lot of fun, but yeah. So.
I wouldn't have thought that Ivory would have been the sweetheart and Luna would have been the mad one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that.
And you know what? I would have thought the opposite too. Cause
no,
like,
I thought that.
Yeah.
I would have thought that.
You?
That was sarcasm.
Well, I couldn't tell. Well, I was like so like blinded by the whole like Luna's my hero. Like that's like,
of course.
Like she was different and like all this stuff. And like, it was the first time I met her and stuff. And she was like laughing to herself when she was coming in the locker room. And then she's like, looks at me and she's like, am I wrestling you? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, okay. And then Rick Steiner was there and Buff Bagwell. And somehow I was in the locker room with these three and everybody else was, because it was like trailers. Yeah. So I'm like, shit. And I hear Buff Bagwell's like, they're taking intermission. And if they do, I'm going to be mad. I'm going to turn my hat this way and they're going to know I'm mad. And then, but I remember I went outside because I'm like freaking out. And Rick Steiner's standing there smoking a cigarette. And he looks at me. He's like, she's going to kick your ass, right?
Oh, no.
And I was like, okay. And he's like, there's nothing you could do about it either. Oh. And I'm like, fuck, why am I doing that? Like I literally just wanted to run to my car and just.
But a little
home.
bit he was like, but I'm wrestling Luna.
Yeah, so that's why I stayed.
Well, I get all right. Yeah, wrestling's weird. So, only in wrestling, right?
Right.
That you're like, well, I'm gonna get my ass kicked, and I'm not allowed to like fight back. Why would I? She's a legend. Yeah. So I just gonna have to suck it up and get my ass kicked.
And the first thing she said to me when we got to the back was, "I wish you would have hit me harder." And I was like. Maybe if like she and I were to wrestle now, I'd be like, bitch.
Right.
But,
we all have those scenarios in our head where
right, we're like, well, you know what?
Yeah. If only so. Where are you at on the internet?
So I have Instagram.
Are you back on social media?
I'm back on social media. I've come out of my shell. No, like I was only off social media for like a month, but, Instagram is just Havok Death Machine, all one word. And I'm on Twitter at Fear Havok. I think I have a Facebook fan page, but I don't really push that as much. I think there's a link on one of those somewhere for it. But
I'm never got super into Facebook. I do it, but for some reason I still feel like a dad. Like, what? I don't get it that much. Instagram's so easy.
I just don't. I actually turn the notifications for Facebook off of my phone because I can't stand the news feed. Everybody's just crying about.
I turn my notification off for everything.
Yeah,
I only text and.
Yeah, I think that it's the same too because I've started to get a big following on Instagram and stuff because of like TNA and stuff. It's been like a year and a half since I've worked for them, but I mean, they were a big reason why I got such a big following, like out of nowhere.
Your profile
anyway.
got a little higher, yeah.
So, but yeah, like I think I use Instagram more than anything anyway, but all my notifications, otherwise my phone would be blowing up.
Right. And then you take your own bookings, right?
Yes, I take my own bookings. And my email is like on my Twitter for that stuff too. But yeah.
Cool.
I try to stay pretty busy with that stuff. And
I think I was going to say is, I mean, you just do wrestling, right?
I actually just recently started streaming video games live too, because I've always been a big gamer.
But I mean, you're making your living or you're whatever. You're getting by. You're a wrestler.
Yeah, but I also get paid to play video games now when I stream live. Yes.
Weird.
Yeah, because it is weird, but it's money, and I don't have to like get in a ring and like. But
you're getting that money because you're Jessicka Havok, professional wrestler, though.
The fact that I have a following because of wrestling definitely helps.
That counts as wrestling in my head.
Yeah. So yeah, like my main source of income, like I wrestle for a living. I literally just stay home 4 days a week and I Instagram pictures of my dog Charlie and I play video games and then I travel on the weekends. So
welcome. Well, yeah, I get it. Again, thank you, and I'm glad you talked about that. I hope you feel good about it.
Well, I do. I like it. Actually, feel like an extra weight has been lifted, and I'm glad that I got to talk about it on your podcast.
Yeah,
because I do not think I'm better than you. I think you're actually pretty awesome. But I appreciate that. I feel honored to have been invited to do this. So
of course,
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey. All right, Jessicka Havok on the show for this week. Great having her on the show. Hopefully that cleared up some stuff, got it off her conscience. She was able to talk about it, and that feels nice for me that she can kind of, it's pent up, and you're looking for a safe space to kind of talk about stuff, and hopefully that's kind of what my show was for her. And maybe you've been in that situation or something like it, or you have a friend, and maybe you can relate. Send her a tweet and tell her you appreciate it. All right, Jessicka, thanks for coming on the show. Before we get out of here, let's get into some plugs and
upcoming events.
All right, the best way that you can support ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com, Twitter and Instagram at Colt Cabana, Facebook /AOW podcast /Colt Cabana. Also, my storytelling podcast, Pro Wrestling Fringe, plus all the past archives of this very show. They can be heard ad-free on Howl.fm. Use the code COLT. Get yourself a free month. ColtWrestling@gmail.com. That's my very public email. Maybe you're a promoter who I'm putting you on your upcoming show or convention. I do have a YouTube channel, and I've been putting some stuff up there on the YouTube channel. Please go check that out and subscribe to that. ColtCabana.com is my website. That's where I have a P.O. box, and you can send me something fun in my snail mail. Hopefully I come back to some fun stuff when I come back to Chicago, Illinois. Only soon to have to leave for England within 2 days. But, I'll still check that P.O. box. Upcoming Sunday, February 19th, Tokyo, Japan. Sign up and watch me, DDTUniverse.com. I'm going to be wrestling Don Chico Dino. He's the guy who Joey Ryan flipped with his dick. Friday, February 24th, Portsmouth, England, RevolutionProWrestling.com. Saturday and Sunday, February 25th and 26th, Preston, England, PrestonCityWrestling.com. Of course, I didn't realize that was the Chris Travis Memorial Tournament. A lot of people have been talking about that, and I think I'm going to bring a bunch of stuff from my past to auction off to give to his charity. I think that is my goal. Some weird stuff I think I'm going to bring. Some Scotty Goldman stuff, some obscure Colt Cabana stuff. Hopefully make a little money for the cause. Saturday, March 4th, New York City, and Friday and Saturday, March 10th and 11th, Las Vegas, Nevada. ROHWrestling.com. Sunday, March 5th, Bowling Green, Kentucky. Facebook/United Pro Wrestling KY. Friday, March 17th, here's a new one, Austin, Texas, at 3:30. I'm doing a live podcast, SXSW.com. I'm going to be at South by Southwest. We'll do a podcast with wrestlers and comedians. The wrestlers will be probably wrestling that night, because I'll be wrestling that night, WrestleCircus.com. Saturday, March 18th, Somerville, Massachusetts, Facebook/Beyond Wrestling. Friday, March 24th, Cleveland, Ohio, AIWrestling.com. Saturday, March 25th, Windsor, Canada, BorderCityWrestling.com. Sunday, March 26th, London, Ontario, Canada, Smash-Wrestling.com. And then WrestleMania weekend. This is all going to be in Orlando, Florida. Wednesday, March 29th, AtomicWrestlingFL.com. Thursday the 30th, 4 p.m., live podcast with Larry Zbyszko, tinyurl.com/ColtandLarry. 8:30 p.m., WrestleProOnline.com. Friday and Saturday is WrestleCon from 10 to 5 and 10 to 4, respectively. I'm doing live podcasts at 4 p.m. and 3 p.m., respectively. Friday night is the WrestleCon show. Saturday night is the ROHWrestling.com show. And then I just want to let you guys know, if you need a hotel, cheap hotels, go to WrestleCon.com. Stay at WrestleCon. They have hotels. They're still available, and you can get a great deal. All right, that is the show for this week. Huge thank you to you guys at home for listening. I appreciate it. Thanks to Jessicka, Havok for coming on the show. Thanks to Cable Guy Jeff and Stu Stone, Kid Russell, Matt Jenkins on the music, Dane Miller with tech. Sponsors, highspots.com. They got an amazing VOD service. Hundreds of full-length titles available for download. $5 wrestlings are there. PWGs are there. AMA knee pads, gear, masks, so much more. OneHourTees.com. They help run ProWrestlingCrate.com. They help run ProWrestlingTees.com. That's the place where you can support your favorite independent wrestlers. And TweetAudio.com/Colt. The earbuds that I use get over 30% for free shipping just because you listen to this show. Arigato gozaimasu. That is Japanese for thank you very much. I've been here, I think this is my 12th or 13th maybe tour. It's awful. I mean, my Japanese is awful. Genki desu. I know Genki desu. If you know some Japanese, some stuff that I can learn that's like easily to flow out, because it doesn't flow that well for me. So if I just hear long words, I need it to like rhyme or sound like something. You know, my very first tour, Steve Carino said semen stain, which then you can remember Simasen, which means excuse me. So I've always remembered semen stain, thanks to Steve Carino. So if you have any tips like that, I greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, I'm going to go back to YouTube tutorials, which I watch for like 2 seconds, and then I just find myself doing anything but. But that is the plan for right now. All right. Hey, this has been The Art of Wrestling. For Colt Cabana, I'm Colt Cabana. Arigato. It's not as good, is it? All right. Thanks.